All right, so the numbers are out. We have all of the sales data from the month of June. We're now into the month of July. What does the landscape look like for buyers and sellers here in the central Maine market as we head into the early summer market? Stick around, we're getting into that today. Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. It is your realtor Nick Isgro with eXp Realty here in central Maine. And as I said at the beginning, we're going to go ahead and dive into all of the numbers, all the statistics coming out of the month of June into the month of July and see what's going on in this kind of crazy market. We've been riding a lot of ups and downs over the last 6 months, and frankly a lot of anecdotal evidence that the market might be loosening up, might be softening up potentially. But what does the data say? Well, stick around, because as we get particularly into some of the later numbers here, you're going to find out that it may not all be as it appears on the surface. Now, before we get into any of that, I do want to welcome you here to the channel. If you've never been here before, we cover all things real estate here in the state of Maine, but particularly in the central Maine market. If that is of interest to you and adds value to your process in the buying and selling of homes, do me a favor, go ahead and hit the like button on this video, hit subscribe, and knock that little alarm bell. You'll be notified every time I put out new content. Now, jumping right in here, as we always do right out of the gate, we want to get into new listings, because new listings are important. We want to see, are we actually getting some more inventory on the market? Because as we all know, what's been the driver of this crazy market? What has driven the crazy pricing that we've seen? It's been, frankly, just a big lack of inventory. So what's going on? Bringing up the numbers here, you see 271 new listings came on the market during the month of June. Now, a little bit down from last year. We had 296 during the month of June, but definitely a big jump over the month before in May. We only brought 241 listings on during that month. Now we have 271. What a great way to move into the summer market. That's great news for buyers, because when it's super squeezed like it was in the early spring and we just weren't seeing the numbers come up to where we want them to be, not only is the pricing high, but frankly, your options are limited. So buyers are looking at the market saying, I guess this is it. Not really the house of my dreams out here all the time. Now there's gonna be more opportunities for you to go out there and find that house that you have been looking for. Now that we've looked at the new listings, we want to jump over into the sales activity. And as always, we're going to break that into two categories. We're going to break it into pended listings, as all of the number of homes that went into escrow during the month, and then all of the ones that actually closed, so for closed sales for the month. So let's look at that activity. All right, pended listings for the month, 125. This is very interesting, actually down from the prior month at 181 pended listings during the month of May, and way down from the year before. That was well over 200 pended sales. So the new listings were up, but the number of homes going into escrow were down. And I think this is what we mean when we say we're seeing a softening in the market. There's a little buyer fatigue out there, I think. Interest rates are up, there's a lot of negative news on the TV, and people who have just been frankly beat up by the marketplace. And so we see that translating into these numbers, where the number of homes has increased on the market, but the number of homes going into escrow or under contract is going down. So that's going to be an interesting statistic to follow. We'll see how that happens during the month of July in through August, where sometimes we see a little bit more of a softening than we do in the May and June, which tend to be kind of the hottest sales months. Well, what happened for closed sales? A lot of those would have been going into escrow the month before, during the month of May. What's going on in closed sales? 162, another interesting number. Exactly, actually, the same number of closed sales from the month of May. So there was no increase, there was static movement, I guess lack of movement, if you will, in the closed sales during the month of June. And again, way down from where we were a year before, almost 200 closed sales in the month of June the year prior. And now we're just maintaining. So let's take a look at what this does to overall inventory numbers, because this is going to set the stage, I think, maybe for some buyer opportunities depending on what happens with interest rates. So right now we have a lot more new listings coming on, we have a lot less going into escrow, and we stayed the same for sold listings during the month. So what's happening with the overall inventory on the market here in Kennebec County? 239 active listings. This is way up from the month before, 155 active listings the month before. And you can see, look at the trend line. This was a big jump month over month, and from the months before that too. This is where hopefully, we can call it a market softening if you want. I look at it as opportunities for buyers. Now, does that mean that, by the way, that this is not still a seller's market? I don't think so. We're going to get into that in a little bit. But I think this is still good news in general for the marketplace. It's very difficult both as buyers and frankly as a realtor who works with a lot of buyers and sellers when the market is so super squeezed like it has been. I think a lot of people think we enjoy it. Hint, we actually don't. We would love to have more inventory to get our buyers into the homes of their dreams, to encourage more of you to come back off the sidelines, or maybe just get you into the home because we've been working with you for like 6 or 7 months and we haven't found that one for you. This might be the opportunity to do that. So I think overall, not only for buyers, I just think in general for the market, this increase in inventory is going to prove to be a good thing. What we don't know right now is how this carries through July and August. Does the listing activity soften up a little bit as people start to go on vacations and get out for the summer, headed to camp and things like that? Only time's going to tell. We'll take a look at that obviously in a few weeks, but for now, good news, big increase in the inventory month over month as we head into the month of July. And by the way, when I say big increase, I do want to bring up a number here that's important, just to keep it all relative. Months of supply. So months of supply, as always, if you're new to the channel, this is if we were to bring no new listings onto the market, we sold everything that we have right now, how long would it take for us to do that? Still, 0.83 months. Now, definitely a big jump from the month before. We've been hovering at less than half a month of supply for a long time, so this feels like a big bump. It's actually more than doubled a little bit over month coming into the month of July, but it's still less than 1 month of supply. And this is where it gets important when we start talking about opportunities for buyers versus moving from a seller's market to a buyer's market, okay? A equilibrium market, a balanced market, it's about 6 months of supply. So we could take this doubling we just had and we could double it a couple of more times, and we'd really just be getting to that equilibrium in the marketplace where we could say there's probably a balance between buyers and sellers. So this is a good number here to prove to us that it definitely remains a seller's market, even as we've had obviously a great increase of inventory month over month. All right, so if you remember, I said at the beginning of this video that we might have some bright spots for buyers, but does this really mean that it's a bad thing for sellers? I don't think so. These numbers actually were very impressive to me. I was actually surprised when I saw these because it hasn't really been necessarily my personal experience working with the buyers I've been working with or with the sellers I've been working with, but this is very interesting. Obviously, these numbers are coming from the total MLS listings here in Kennebec County. Let's look at the average days on market, so the time that a home sits on the market as an active listing before going into escrow, and then let's look at the sale to price ratio. We're going to start here with average days on market. Average days on market, 13.5 days, actually down a little bit from the month before. And this is interesting because if you start to break the market down a little bit, and I've had a lot of conversations with other realtors in the area who are calling me and asking me, what are you seeing? What's going on? And the conversation we keep having is the first-time home buyers market starting in that mid-100s range up into really the high 200,000s range. That market's still very thriving, very healthy. You put something on the market, it's moved. I just put one on the market a couple of days ago in Winslow. It was gone that afternoon that we had it listed. So those things are still moving fast. The top end, one of my most active listings, is at the higher end. It's almost $1 million listing. What I'm seeing is in the middle range, actually, where you get into the 400,000s, the 500,000s, the 600,000s, those are taking a little bit longer. We're seeing a little bit longer times here, but you can see overall activity here still moving pretty quick. A couple of weeks on the market, you're very likely to go under contract. Again, I always want to add the fact that it does matter what specific market you're in, and I mean specific by like what town you're in. If you are on the outskirts, you're farther out of town in a more rural area that is really quite a hike to get to a grocery store. That's kind of a good example to use. That might be a little bit longer average market time than somebody that might be in town Winslow, in town Waterville, in town Fairfield. Those are going to go much quicker in most cases. Even Oakland, Sydney, those places, they're still close enough to Waterville and Augusta that they're going to move pretty quick. So all of these things we're talking about here, just important to keep in mind that if you're specifically in a transaction, you want to work with your realtor to get market specific data so you know what you're looking at. That's how I try to break it down for my sellers as we're looking at average sale times and things like that. Anyway, I just talked a whole lot about that. Let's look at what's going on with pricing. So sale to price ratio, this is the amount of the list price that sellers are actually getting for their home. So if I have a $100,000 home, someone offers me $100,000 and that's what it sells for, the sale to price ratio is 100%. What's going on in the market? We've seen in the last couple months 101%, 102%, some people offering higher than asking price. Take a look at this. This was a shock to me. 105% sale to price ratio. Now it is only 104% of the original list price, which means that prices are being priced high. We're seeing some slight price reductions before people actually get the contracts, and you'll see that if you're looking into MLS, any realtor will tell you we are seeing more price reductions coming in. But after those price reductions are done, sellers are still getting 5% more than they were asking for at the original list price. That's pretty amazing. I think this really drills home that we are getting more inventory on the market. It is actually, frankly, still more of a seller's market than I thought it was, but there is still opportunities for buyers. Just depends on what specific market that you're in. I think I will try to break this down on a future video here where we start getting into different price bands, because that's going to make a difference. But right now, let's just take a look at what is going on with the average pricing on the market. Let's take a look at the median sales price year over year. So median sales price last year, same month of June, $249,000. Median sale price this year, $289,000. Now, if you don't like the median, let's take a look at the average and see if we see the same trend, because average is going to just amalgamate this all together and divide by the total, obviously. So average sale price last year, $284,000. Average sale price this year, $319,000. So you can see, and I say this all the time, remember last year there was a lot of people kind of chastising those buyers out there, telling them they were buying way overpriced homes, they're wasting their money, just wait till the bottom falls out, you're going to regret it next year. They're definitely not regretting it. The prices are going up, the equity is still cooking into the product. I think we are seeing a little bit less of a spike in the increase, but we are still going to see moderate increases as the year goes on. Obviously, all things dependent on world events, all things dependent on what happens with interest rates, but really where interest rates are getting back to fairly normal rates, I would say, they're not really sky high. I think that with the shortage of homes that we see in the inventory, we're going to continue to see some moderated price increasing, some opportunities for buyers, but by and large, all I can say is looking at it from here, still a seller's market. So if you guys are in the market right now, if you're buying, I would love to hear from you. I'd love to hear your experience, because sometimes the numbers do match up with what we're experiencing. Like I said, some of these were a little bit interesting to me because they weren't anecdotally lining up with my personal experience, but that's obviously limited. I'm one of hundreds of real estate agents, and my clients are some of, hundreds or thousands of other clients that are in the marketplace. Tell me what you're experiencing. What are you seeing on the pricing? Have you been putting offers in? Are the offers getting accepted? If you're a seller in the market, what are you seeing? What's going on with your pricing? Go ahead and drop a comment below. I'd love to hear from you. That's really it for today, guys. That is the market update. Now that we are in the early summer market, headed into the month of July, we're going to be flying into the full swing of it over the next 3 weeks, and then we'll get into August. Going to be very interesting to see what happens there. As always, my name is Nick Isgro. Again, I work with eXp Realty here in Central Maine. If you are in the market, if you're looking at buying or selling, or you just have a question about real estate, if you want to get in touch with me, all of my contact information is going to be on this post. Would love to hear from you and be happy to help you in any way that I can. Of course, guys, I always thank you so much for sticking around to the end of this video. I do appreciate each and every one of you. And until the next video, see you next time.